for us, and then we'll be able to get underway. So thanks for bearing with me. Welcome. I'm going to spend a bit of time today. Oh, it's still saying that it's the Christmas special, so I'll just change that so that it says editing behind the scenes, never odd or even. And check out how it's done. Save. Alright, so that's all working. I'll just check that the sound is happening there as well. It is. Everything is good. Thank you so much. The picture is much better than on Odd Sonder. It's probably because it's a direct stream from me rather than being picked up by a compiler that's bringing in all of the different kind of pictures together. So there's an extra process involved in creating the green room and all the other bits and pieces. So, but I'm glad the picture's better. Also, I'm directly hooked in by a wired connection to the internet here, and we're fixing that problem for Odd Sonder next week. But what I want to talk you through today is I use a program called Riverside FM, and Riverside FM gives me the opportunity to bring together people from different places and to explore, to connect in. So I'm just going to switch across to my main one, which is this one. Very good. And I'll put myself up here in the middle so that I'm kind of having a look at this. All right, so that's working. So what I got here is the backdoor Riverside FM. And Riverside FM, on this particular episode that I did, which was Voyager Season 5, Episode 7, I had my son Praxis as a guest and John Squires as a guest, which is a bit different to the normal Voyager where I've got Lindsay Cullen and Elizabeth Rain. Just happens to be where I'm up to. And what happens is I use this software platform to bring in all of the three different cameras into one place, and they're recorded on each computer through each microphone as an original recording and then uploaded into a cloud. And so that cloud inside the studio is actually recorded here, and so what I end up with is sets of WAV files that actually work through all of that. So you can see here my high quality WAV file is there, and I can get that down as a compressed audio MP3. You can get it down as a WAV file as well, and so the WAV file is uncompressed, but it's actually not, there's no significant increase in quality, but a massive increase in file size. So everything takes so much longer. So I usually just go for the compressed audio. You can see that's downloading now. So I'll download mine, I'll download Prax's, and I'll download John's. And so I've got the three files then that have actually all downloaded. You can see them there, 1, 2, 3. Three files all downloaded as MP3 compressed files. So then what I'll do is I'll switch across to Audacity. So this is the Audacity screen, and in the Audacity screen I'll actually go in and I shall import the audio of those three files. It just so happens that they're the last three files I downloaded, so it makes it nice and easy to find. I'll select all three of those, John Squires, Praxis and Will, all together, and select open. And so then it will open up, and it will come through quickly downloading. So that's the first file, that's John's file, and then it will pick up my file. Actually, that's Praxis's file. Yep. And so you can see here already that the way this is downloading, John hasn't said much in the first 30 seconds. Praxis doesn't come in till for quite a while. But then when we've got all three of them, you can see that there are three lots of sound files And interestingly, with these three sound files, the microphones have picked them up at different volume lengths. So if I were to start that playing, I'll just check that that's going to work. There's a lot of background noise in that one, but we'll fix that in a bit. You can hear. So I'm hearing my voice at the moment, but then you'll hear Praxis come in. So Praxis typing, that's what that noise is. So we really don't want that noise. And so I know straight away that what I want to do is bring us to the start. So there's a little bit here from John.
So treat me gently. I'm a Voyager virgin.
And you can see that John is really maxing out there, maxing out in a big way. And if I play some of this from Prax as well, we're going to hear Prax.
So it does some things really well.
And so Prax is also really loud. So their volumes have actually come in at a much higher volume than mine. So it's I'm just going to see how that sounds on the stream. It probably sounds dreadful on the stream, I imagine. I'm just going to check that.
So it does some things really well, and it does some things as a victim of its time, which is the terminology we decided we're going to use. But no, like biology.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not coming through very loud on the stream at all. It's coming in loud to my ears, but not so loud to you guys. So that's interesting. Let me just try that again. Oh no, you're not getting it at all. Because okay, well here's something I'm learning as I go. So what I've got to do is just adjust my sound settings here so that Audacity comes through Wavelength Music. So that should be coming through music, should be coming through on this one. So that's interesting that that didn't happen the way I wanted it to. Interesting. I thought that would come through. Let me just check my audio settings up here. So we're going to go into settings, edit, preferences, playback, audio settings, okay, recording device, playback, it's playing straight to my speakers. All right, so we're going to change that so that that's going to play into music, and that should fix our little problem so that you'll be able to hear what I'm doing. So let's try that now. Let's see if that comes through. Yep. So you can now hear here. So you can hear that when I'm speaking, which is here. That's my volume, but in the recording, the volume recording for Praxis is much louder, and you can see that's being picked up there by us peaking. So the first thing I've got to do is that I'm going to fix that problem. So I'm going to double click on Praxis, and I've selected the whole track. So the whole track is selected at the moment. And then I'm going to go into Effect, and I'm going to go into Volume and Compression, and I'm going to go into Amplify. Now it's telling me already that as a natural thing, it wants to reduce it to -1. So it's actually a -1.044 amplify is actually what it says in that little tiny box there. It's probably a bit small for you to see. So it's already picking up that it's too big. But I'm going to change that to 10, and we're going to apply that. And you watch what happens now. It will change the size of the the waveform, so that it looks like it's actually a similar size to mine. So you can see that there. That's similar in size. So now, when we play those two, you can hear me. And so we're no longer peaking as much as we were. So that's good. So now we're going to do the same thing to John. And because John, I think, is of a similar size, yep, we're looking at John being similar size, we're going to go to Effect, we're going to repeat Amplify, which is the same reduction as we did for Praxis, and we'll see what that happens then. We can see now that John has also gone down to a smaller size, and his up and down is about the same as my up and down, and about the same. So they're actually, I'm looking at them, they're still probably a little bit bigger than me. But they're not peaking as much. So let's just listen to a bit of John and see how that comes. So I think potentially what we've got now is we've got them about the right size, although looking at my waveform, I'm still quite a bit smaller than they are. So I think what I might do is I'll just bring them down a little bit more, and I'll go, not repeat amplify because I want to take it down by 10, that's too much. So I'm going to go amplify, and this time I'm going to take it down by -1.0, and we'll just see what that does, just to bring it down just a little bit more. And the same with John. We can now do the repeat amplify because it's at 0.1. All right, and I'm going to do John again, repeating that one to bring him down. Oh, hang on, cancel. We want to do repeat amplify, not volume and compression. And we brought him down again. So now I'm thinking we're pretty good. Now the other thing we want to do is that it doesn't start, this all at the beginning is me, because it was a live recording, is setting up the beginning. So I'm going to highlight, actually I'm going to, when do I start? Do I start here? So we'll just go back a little bit. Right. So I'm just going to take it in a bit closer, just so I can have a good look at where this starts. I think this is the ramble at the beginning. Okay, so what I want to do is I definitely want to take out all of that from the very beginning. And so now it starts from there. So look, I'm So I'm just sort of rambling along at the moment with my editing. Okay. So you can tell that's where I've started. So I want to take all that off the front, and now it begins with the file going like this. So you can hear that I've got this sound here that Praxis is making. I can now take that out completely, and the way that I do that, all those little sounds that are actually in there, is I actually hit Control L and it just mutes them. They're no longer there. Likewise, I can see there's a couple of little spots there for John, and so I'll do exactly the same thing. So what I've got now is my waveform, and as I scan along, I can actually see that there are their waveforms, and these little blips are actually all kind of noises I don't want. Can you hear those noises? So I don't really want that noise in the background. So what I can do is just take this all the way up to there, and once again hit Control L and take it out. So I'm just going to then see what this noise is. So I think John's still a little boomy there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select John again, and I'm going to go back into volume and compression and amplify, and I'm going to take him down by another 2 points. So I'm going to go negative 2.0, and then apply that, and we'll see that shrink just a little bit further, and we'll just see how that sounds then. So he's still a little boomy, still just a bit boomy, I reckon. I don't know, what do you guys think? I'm going to just play that again. So I'm just going to hear that back as well. All right, you're actually only getting that very, very slightly when it plays through. That's very interesting that it's not coming through. It's not coming through as loud for you, but it's very, very loud when it comes in compared to mine. So I think I've got the volume of the music channel down low enough so that it's not coming through and booming into your space. So yes, I've now got them so that they're all fairly equally sized. And so what I do next is that I just go through and I just Control L to remove all these little bumps and scrapes and things that we don't really want in that space. Now, if I'm ever concerned about whether or not something is actually a bump or a scrape, then I can go in and just have a quick listen to it. But most of the time, it's something that I don't want. Now, at the edges of them, sometimes it's good just to double check to see whether they're... So we're getting a really interesting, I don't know, feedback kind of sound from... Okay, let's have a look. So there's a bit of a pause there. I will take that out later, but not in this pass through. So because I'm going to show you how this works all the way through. There's a little blip here. Could be something. Might not be something. I'm going to test it out. Okay. So it sounds like that's just a noise from John. So we'll get rid of that. And then once again here, is this a comment or is it a noise? Yep. So that's a clarification for me. So we'll just check and see if it's a vat. So we're just going to take this out. All right. And we're just Going to whiz through a bit further and see once again we've got the end of Praxis talking, and you can see then that what I'm doing then is just going through each part of it and removing the little blips. So it's actually quite an easy thing to do. Visually, I just go through and all the little blips that are there, I just remove them. I just make sure that if it looks like there's an overlap. So that's a nice transition there, and so we're going to remove that blip there as well. And so we end up then looking a bit like everything is kind of neat and flush. Now every now and then we're going to get an anomaly like this one, so we'll just double check it. Yep, so that's another one of those blips there, so we'll just have a look at that one and we'll just test this one. So that's a traffic noise. That's a nice little truck going past there, see? So if I just do that, I can take that traffic noise out and I can take out those little blips there. Like, whoops, that accidentally, what did that do? Hang on. Nope, we've gone to the end for some reason. I must have hit the K instead of the L. So we'll just go back to wherever we were up to. Yes, we've got a blip noise here. And then we've got a interesting noise here. I'm mentioning Audacity. Oh, that's interesting. So I'm actually talking about the vocal pattern speeches in Audacity whilst doing the edits for the vocal pattern speeches in Audacity. So that's kind of interesting. So there we go. And so we just make our way through and continue to remove all the little blips. Now we're just going to check, see what these blips are. So it's a bit of a chuckle. So I like having a chuckle. Chuckle's not too bad. And as you can see, I'm now already 10 minutes through and I've actually been able to clean this up fairly nicely as I go through. So I'm pretty happy with that. I've got some kind of comment that I've just put in here. Yep, so that's actually talking about Xavier's appearance, so that's all good. We're gonna do that, and you can see what I've got to do now is just go through and clean up all the little blips that I can see inside the edit, and like so, and like so. And so I end up with this clean, nice clean silence behind each person as they're speaking, removing any incidental sounds or clicks or clips that shouldn't be there. So we're going to just check what this is. So that's cool. That's cool. That's a nice little banter in exchange there. So just going to see. So we've got some little blips there. We're just going to take them out. They're unnecessary. And you can see now we're already 15 minutes into the program and we've really been able to clean things up really well. I'm not worrying about it if I can't see it. So that's a confusing little blip there. So I think what I'll do, just to clean this section up, is I will take that out. And if I take that out, then what we've got is join at the end of a point here. And so we've got a nice ending point there, and then we've got a good pickup from Praxis. So then what we've got is a better exchange. Now we do have a period of silence here, but just keep an eye on that silence. When we come back to that at 17:30, I'll show you what I do with that once I've actually finished this edit process. So I'm just going to go through and quickly wipe these out and make my way through. They're probably just little affirmations that actually don't need to be there. They're little blips, so they don't need to be there. And so we're just cleaning up the back end of the recording as much as we possibly can. So here we've got an interesting exchange, so I'll just check that. So you can see that's a really, really nice exchange there. So I'm going to leave that as it is. And I'm going to take those little incidentals out. And then I'm going to get to the end here. I've got another transfer. So it's usually the transfer points. So if you want to listen to this episode in full, you can do that once I've finished. I'll publish it. Okay, so this little sniff here, I can take that out because it doesn't need to be there, and there'll be another little gap here, and we'll come to that later on. So then we are going to clear all of that. Oops, don't want both of them, just want one. Taking that out, taking that out. So they're all kind of just incidental noises that are not going to add to the podcast. Now we've got a bit of a gap here, so I'm just going to check what that is. So here's a bit of a silence. So we'll take that out, and then what have we got here? Just some noises coming in. Yep. So that's just some traffic noise. And we'll just take out a bit of that and a bit of that. So that now, you might have heard, behind that there was a little bit of sound that was coming back. So I've taken out the track that was there for Praxis. That was in this part. Oh, what's just happened? Is my live stream frozen? That's interesting. Let me just have a look and see what's going on there. Oh no, we're good. Okay, I don't know what happened there. My viewer seemed to be looking like it was frozen. But yeah, there was a piece of the track I was taking out here, and that's been removed. And then I'm going to remove these pieces. So that's all good. And so we're just working our way through. As you can see, we're now nearly halfway through the episode. And we have been able to clean it up substantially. So that's really good, and we're going to clear that up as well. That's going to clean up nicely, and that's going to clean up nicely. That's going to clean up very nicely. So we're just basically washing out all of these little incidental sounds. Now, if we've got a couple we're not sure about, we'll just check them. So that's... So that's a interesting little bit there. So I might just take myself out there, and we'll tidy that up a bit later. So let's just go. And because that was a start and a repeat, I'll take that out there. It's left us a bit of a gap, but it means we're going to have Praxis saying this. And then we're going to skip straight across and have John reply with, so I'm just clearing that up. So that's clearing. And you can see then that I'm got that going like there and going like there. So that's good. And that's all working. So basically, there's going to be some little gaps like here at 27. And again, we were talking about it at 17. So, but largely I'll fix that later on. What I'm really looking for at the moment is these little incidental bits of sound that are actually showing up underneath while other tracks are on. I always check these exchange points. So I'm happy with that exchange point there, but I want to take the incidentals out. So it just cleans it up so there's less overlapping in the conversation that's taking place in the recording of the podcast. So we're going to just tidy up. See all those little blips? We're just going to take them out. Control L in Audacity just silences all those little blips and cleans up the backing track so that if there's any kind of noise or coughing or sneeze or anything that's happening in the back, then this just cleans that right up and makes it all very neat and tidy. So here I've got a bit of got an yes. So ideally I want to take that part out, right, and do the silence on it, because this end part from Praxis will actually bat up really nicely to this entry, right, that actually will then become one sentence. And once again, I'm going to have a bit of a gap there at 31, and I will come back and fix that a bit later on. And I'll show you how I do that later on once I've got through. So we're making our way really, really quickly now through these parts, just taking out all of the incidental blips and blobs and sniffs and coughs and other bits and pieces all the way through until we get to the end of the episode, and then we are doing really well. So a few more blibs and blobs from me, a couple more blibs and blobs from John. Praxis is very quiet at the moment. He might have himself muted. And there we go. There we go. There we go. Now we've got an interesting exchange here. Let's just have a look. It might be a compete for the microphone. Okay, let's have a bigger listen to that. Okay, so I think the comment from me there is obsolete, so I'm just going to take that out and we'll just listen to that and see if it makes sense without that comment. So that works really well. That fits nicely with that being taken out, and there's less clutter, less confusion for the listener in that space. So the idea is to try and make it as comforting for the listener as possible by taking out all of those bits. So let's have a listen here. So that's actually quite a good exchange as well. So anytime I'm looking at it and I'm concerned, I'm going, oh, is that an overlap, or does that not quite fit? Or is there too much space or not enough space? I can actually go back through and just remove it. Now, should I remove something I didn't want to remove, I can always go back up to edit and undo the silence, or I can do that with the Control Z. So if I accidentally remove something and I listen to it and I go, oh, that sounds terrible without that in there, it no longer makes sense, I can go back and undo it as I go. So that's all good. So I'm just going to take that out. But I'm interested in this shape. Is this an interjection? It is not an interjection, it's a kind of cough, so I'm going to get rid of that. And this one here could be an interjection. It is not an interjection, it's a bit of typing, so I'm going to take that out as well. And so you can see that the process that I'm going through just pulls out any incidentals. Is this the start of a thought, or is this... Yep, so that's good. So that's all good. We're going to take that out, and this is all going very smoothly. We've got a possible interjection here. So I'm quite happy with that interjection. That's a nice little exchange there with John, so I'm going to leave that in. But there's a couple of little blips here that I want to get rid of, and so I'll just take them out. A couple from me. Praxis takes over the conversation at this point, and then we've got an interesting end point. So we've got a long So that's a bit of a strange ending there. We might just leave it though. So if we take this one out, take this R out at this point in time, and we'll silence that R. Okay, we want to keep the behaviors because that finishes the sentence. We're going to have a bit of a gap there, and as I've mentioned before, we'll come back and deal with gaps later on after we've done the first pass through, which is what we're just about finished now. So you can see we're almost through the first pass through, and it's been about 20 minutes to do the first pass through. What do we got here from John? So let me just... complicates things. So that doesn't need to be there anymore. So we'll just get rid of that little tail end. And a couple of blibs and blobs. So we'll get rid of those. And a couple of those. And a couple of those. So that's blibbed and blobbed that out. And... continuing to get almost to the very end of the episode. Got a weird exchange here at the end, so we're just going to check that out. So John's... so we've got a bit of repetition there. So if we go... so I think we're going to finish at imagination and take that out because we've got a bit of a repetition that's taking place, and we'll take that out as well. That's going to leave us another gap, but we'll deal with that in a bit. As I said, almost finished with the episode run through as a first pass. We're now up to 53, which is good. And just clearing up the end of that one. We've got a good handover here. So that's a good handover, so that works. And we're continuing to deal with our blibs and blobs. Got a little another handover here. So when we got an yeah at the end, we'll just get rid of that. And so we'll fix that little hole up a bit later on. So there's a few holes I've got to fix in the second pass, but you'll see why I'm doing the second pass in just a moment when we finish this up, because it becomes so much easier to do. This pass is very much about making sure that we're dealing with overlaps and interruptions and background noise. So that's our main okay, so we're gonna just take out the yeah at the end. So we're also starting to see some patterns in speech that actually mean that we can recognize when problems are going to occur. So let's have a look at this one. So that's a really nice exchange. It looks like it might be a clumsy piece in there, but it's actually a really nice bantering exchange there. And so I'm going to leave that in because that works really well. It's given John a bit of a jovial confidence boost. Let's have a look and see what this is from Prax now. So that's some more typing by Praxis. So we'll just get rid of that, silence that in the background, and we'll silence all of that. We've got an exchange here, so let's have a look at the exchange. We could go on, and we didn't go on because we're just about to the end of the episode now. We've got an interesting exchange here. Laughing. That's a truck going past, so we'll get rid of Praxis's truck and my little blurbs. And we've got John speaking. What have we got here? Probably another car or a truck. Nope. Okay. So that's a good little banter as well. I can see that there's a bit of a chop and change there, but it's a good chop and change, so we're going to leave it. There's a couple of little blips and blobs here that we're going to get rid of. This looks like it might be an interrupt, so let's have a look. Nope, that's all good. So we're happy with that. That's kind of a good interchange. Here, let's have a look at this interchange. Bit of typing, and then what have we got here? Some more talking. So that's really cool to see all of those people. This will be typing again by the shape of it. Yes, it is. Look at that. So you start to be able to recognize what the shapes might indicate by their sharpness and the way they rise and fall. You can hear that you can see that they're keystrokes. You start to be able to, just like in the Matrix, be able to read the Matrix by actually looking at it. So it's fascinating. Like, so once again, looking at this piece here on Praxis's one, I think they have started typing again. So let's test that theory out. Yep, there it is. So we've got that typing in the background, and so all we have to do is just silence it so that it's gone. And so what we've done now is we've just done a pass through. This is the end of the episode. Okay, so that's really good. Now there's a tail end here. It's probably fantastic. So look, I'm happy with all of that. So that is actually a wrap. If I go back out now, then what I can see, if I reduce the size of it back to a full size thing, then I can see the entire file here, and I can see that they're all about the same size, that there's a whole range of different gaps and other bits and pieces, but I'm really happy with it. So what I'll do now is that I'll go up to here and I will export the audio, and I will call it VS5 E7. I think it's 7. Let me just double check that. we'll go back over here and have a look at Riverside, and we'll see that it is called, going back, Infinite Regress episode 7. That's correct. So we'll call it VS E7, and we'll call it, and I always call these ones draft. All right. So that's going to be saved as an MP3, same as before, and I'm going to export it. So exporting it as a smaller MP3 file saves a lot of time. It's a much smaller file and it works really, really well. So just going to save that now and put that through. So pretty happy with that. It's almost finished. And then I can show you what I do with the next part of it once this is done. All right, almost exported. All right. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to save this file. So we're going to save project, and we're going to save the project with the same name before. So we're going to say VS5E7 and save that. Now that's just in case something's gone horribly wrong with my export and it doesn't work. So what I'll do now is I'll close this one. It's just compacting the project to make it smaller. It can be extracted later on. And I will open Audacity again as a new project. Okay, and I'm going to go into here, into Audacity and import. Now I want to import the audio file. The audio file that I want to import will actually be inside where I save these things to, and I want to go to this PC. I want to go to the cloud. Where is it? Creative Cloud. No, not Creative Cloud. I want to go to OneDrive Cloud, and then I'm going to go into Documents. I'm going to go into Digital Theology Podcast Voyager, and I'm going to look for VS5E7 Draft, and I'm going to open that one. So that'll open up now. Now the other thing I'll do in just a moment when I've got that up is I will also, I'm just going to check that my YouTube is still operating. Yes, it is. That's fantastic. Thank you, YouTube. All right. So I'm going to open this up and I'm also at this time going to import another track. So we're going to import audio. We're already in Voyager. We're going to look for Season 5, Intro to Season 5. So we're going into the Intro to Season 5. So the Intro to Season 5, and I've got to zoom in a little bit now because I can't really see, is here. And so if I just drag that so that it starts just afterwards, then you'll hear, this is my, so that's my intro to Season 5, and then I've got a fade out. So that starts really well now. So what I've got to do now is I've got to make my way through the episode, and in particular, I'm looking for any major gaps. Now, when I say major gaps, I'm not talking about little gaps like this. I'm talking about this one here. So there's a fairly big gap right here. So if I play that through, so as you can see, that's a really big piece of dead air. Now, the reason why I've left it this way is that I can see that piece of dead air really easy now in this pass. I can see it sitting there. I can see that it's long enough. It's an awkward silence. And so if I just press delete, that's gone. And so now what I've got is much neater, much nicer. And so anything bigger than, like I might look at this one. This one here is a bit big. So I might just go through and take, whoops, I pressed end. I didn't mean to do that. So we're going to go back to where we were up to. Okay. So a gap like this is not too bad. So I'm not going to worry about a gap, say, that big. I'm going to worry about a gap that is a bit bigger than that. So I'm going to have a look through. There's a bit of a gap here. Let's have a look. So that's a big gap if I take the out as well. So if I take that out too, that's tightened that up just a little bit, giving it just a bit more continuity. We want to try and make sure that we're good. Now we've got another bit of a gap here, so we can tighten that up just by taking it out. And we can go along. Now remember we said we had one about 17, so I'll show you that one. It'll be a fairly big one coming up. There it is. So that's our gap that we were talking about before. So that's a very large gap, a huge piece of awkward dead air. So we're just going to take that out, and let's see what that sounds like now that that's gone. So that's quite a good correction of dead air that's been removed, and so we're just going through, analyzing, looking. We got that one there, that's borderline, so let's take it out. And so we're just going through, scanning it for those sort of dead air bits and removing them. And there's another one there, that's probably a bit big, so we'll just get rid of that one. And it's just tightening it up. So we've got another one here at 27, so we'll just get rid of that. I think we said we had one at 21, didn't we? Let me have a look back at 21. Can't see any there. Maybe I did just take that out, so that's good. Just scanning through. Just scanning through. That looks like there might be a bit of a gap there. And a bit of a gap there. And oh, a huge gap there. You can see that. That's a big gap. So I'm not even having to listen to the podcast. I'm just going through, looking for the gaps. Any big menacing gaps that are actually showing up, I will check out. Not seeing, oh, there's one. That's a nice big gap there. So we'll get rid of that one. And I think we'll tighten this one up as well. So that's good. We'll go all the way through, tighten them all up. And there's another big gap. Tighten that up. I'm just deleting the gaps so that it actually comes out really nicely. Here we go. And all right, and okay, and got all the way to the end. So I've kind of cleared up all the gaps there. Now there was something else I wanted to do here, and that is put in an end zone credit. So I'm going to just put in that in there, and what I'm going to do as a bit of a tricky thing in this one, because it was John and Prax who joined me, I'm going to import audio, and instead of being in Voyager Theological Journey, I'm going to go up one to podcast, and I'm going to find the Moon Knight Season 1 intro. So there's my intro mix down, and I'm going to import the Moon Knight Season 1 intro. So that's coming in now. So I've got that, and I'm going to drag that all the way to the back end of the track. And we're going to put our thing here, and we're going to zoom in so we can get that lined up nice and neatly with the back end of the track, and we'll just see how this goes. So I probably don't want that first part, so I'm just going to drag this in so that it comes to there, and we'll just see how that comes out. We might drag it in just a little bit. So I want to pull that in just a little tighter so that it actually covers that silence gap, so that I've got I'm going to cover that silence just a little bit further. I've got a bit of a gap there actually. I might just, if I zoom in, oops, that's zooming out. I'm going to zoom in. What have I got here? It's going to be John. So I don't like that big gap between John and Squires there. It sounds a little awkward, so I'm going to take that out. So he's going to say, let's go again. So actually I've got another option here. I could take all of that out and just go to there and then drag all of that across and bring it to there. So let's see how that sounds. So that's quite a good ending there, and it's kind of a bit of an in-joke for the regulars, because I've got the Moon Knight outro on the back of the Voyager podcast, because I've got my Moon Knight team doing a Voyager podcast. So I'm very happy with all of that now. That all seems to be working very well. And so I've got a final export. So I'm now going to export the audio of this one. And instead of just calling it V, I'm going to call it Voyager. Season 5, episode 7, and the name of the episode is called Infinite Regress. Okay, so that's ready to go. I'm now going to export the document. So that's exporting. And pretty much that's how the editing is done. It's kind of a fun way to do it. I've kind of gotten very used to getting it done this way now, and I'm very happy. So just waiting for the final export to take place. And once the export's done, what I do then is I go to my Spotify for Podcasters account, and that loads me up into my Never Odd or Even Spotify space. So I'll just go back and check that that's finished. That has finished. So we'll just shrink that down, and I'll say that I have a new episode. Now in this I get lots of really cool information. If I check out my episodes, I can actually see that I've had a few views in the last little while. So my last Once Upon a Time that came out last week's had 6 already, so that's good. And we've had a number of others. So as time goes on we get more. But right now we're going to go in and we're going to select a file for our new upload, which has got its front and its back. Once again, we'll go into the OneDrive, Documents, Digital Theology, Podcast, Voyager, and we'll find this one that I just created, which is Voyager Season 5, Episode 7, Infinite Regress, and we'll open it. And it starts to upload, and this is where I can give it the title. So I remember again that this one's called Voyager S5 E7 Infinite Regress. So that's the episode. You can see it's loading very quickly. The description is 7. Oops, I better actually click on the space. 7 of 9 experiences many of the identities I I've got to spell properly. Identities encountered while in the Borg collective. Comma, Dr. John Squires and the Praxis collective return to Never Odd or Even to share their experiences with DID in relation to this episode. So that's good. I've now put that in there. Just check for spelling mistakes. Relation and episode are both showing up as mistakes. So is Borg, but you know, Borg is not really a word, so that's all good. Publish date is now. There is no explicit content. Additional options. It is season number 5, episode number 7. I'm going to change the episode cover. So I'm going to go to downloads. And in the bottom of downloads is the cover for that one. So I'm going to save it to that one, which is the cover photo for season 5. And as soon as that uploads, which shouldn't take very long, I'm going to go next. And I could put in an optional question, but I'm not going to. It then just checks all my information, make sure I've put it in properly. I can do a double check on the sound. The back is on. Sorry. So that's... So I've just checked that it's sounding good, that it's got the front, it's got the back, and so I hit the publish button down in the bottom corner, and it's up there. It's live, it's out there. You can find it on Spotify from this point onwards, so that's very exciting. So that's a little bit of the behind the scenes there. If you'd like to subscribe, you can go to Spotify and subscribe to Never Odd or Even podcasts. That gives you an opportunity to explore that, and I'm really pleased that I've been able to go through that. So thanks for joining me, and I've been Will Nicholas. This has been a Never Odd or Even production. You may have found this on YouTube. There's some other things to check out on YouTube. Otherwise, you'll be able to follow me on Twitch. I'm also do this live on Twitch as well. So thanks for joining me, and I will catch up with you later on.